move closer to my mic.
You should be right up onto it like I am.
Who's been saying that?
That's what Skype just said.
What the fuck does Skype know?
Yeah. What do you know, Skype?
Yeah, you listen to the show, Skype? I don't think so.
I think Skype has to listen to the show by proxy of us recording on Skype.
Well, who is Mr. Skype? Like, who listens to this? Like,
That's
who's
what
the head guy? You know.
I think you're referring to you as Pietro Skype, founder, CEO, and top caterer of Skype.
Bad dude Skype.
Bad dude Skype Escondido.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Smark Avengers.
That's the beginning, is it?
I'm cutting the bit short, Dylan. I'm cutting the bit short.
All right.
Hi,
I had more,
Avengers.
but we'll just cut it.
Well, I mean, by all means, the floor is yours. I surrender my time to the representative from the great state of Northern Ireland.
Thank you. Not technically a state, but
state of mind.
It is a state of mind.
When our next corrupt president gets elected, we're going to start just taking continents. You're now the 51st state.
I guarantee you that if Trump gets elected, he doesn't know that Northern Ireland exists.
Yeah, he just thinks it's all one place.
Yeah, I 100%.
The place of the leprechauns.
I guarantee you he doesn't know that this place exists.
He will declare war on your country because of all of the gold that the leprechauns have. That we could use that gold to kickstart our economy again.
Yeah, by kickstarting your economy, you mean for him to spend it on golf courses in Scotland?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and golf carts in Scotland.
He's got to get to the golf courses in Scotland.
He's got to get around there somehow.
He's not walking it.
His body, he ain't moving very fast.
Lazy piece of shit. Anyway.
Anyway,
move off that topic.
Yeah. So, welcome to Spark Avengers. My name's Corey. With me are Dylan and John. We're no -1 situation. We're +0, -0. This one. This is the full assortment. We are the baker's dozen of your heart. So this is going to be kind of a strange one to listen to because we are recording this the same day that you're listening to it, which over the last several months, we've made many jokes about it, about how we are always recording stuff in advance. So, there's always an element of, quote, time travel involved, where we'll talk about something present day, but in reality, for you as a listener, it was a couple of weeks ago. So that is not the case here, because we wanted to be timely, and we wanted to be relevant for once. And the reason we're doing that is because a little movie called Deadpool and Wolverine, or Deadpool v. Wolverine, Dawn of Justice, came out. And there was some big news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con about the future of the MCU, which ties back into the very first episode of Volume 3 of the Smark Avengers, where we did talk about the MCU and the aspects of Endgame and what have you. So, as the only person on the team who has not seen Deadpool v. Wolverine, Dawn of Justice, I will yield my time to John and Dylan to discuss your feelings on this movie.
Well, are you not a big fan of Wolverine? The cinematic version of Wolverine?
No. It's not so much that. It's just I have stated many times I have not watched a superhero movie since like Guardians of the Galaxy 1. So it's been a hot minute for me.
Have you not seen Deadpool 2?
Oh, you're right. So yes, I have seen the first and second Deadpool movies. Yes. Those were exceptions, I suppose.
Corey, have you seen the solo Wolverine films?
I have seen the Wolverine, which is the one in Japan.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen the others though.
Okay,
I didn't see Origins and I didn't see Logan.
Logan was really good. Origins was the first one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We talked about these when we did the X-Men movie episode.
Oh,
and how the Wolverine was like a good movie, but we couldn't remember anything about it. Like that was the takeaway from that one. It was in Japan, and it involved the Silver Samurai. And aside from that, I think we were ultimately clueless.
I think that's the rationale we came to, was that it was good but forgettable.
Yes.
Saying that, I did watch it again the other week in preparation for watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and I came out of it really enjoying it.
Yeah, like I remember
Yeah.
loving it.
It wasn't a bad movie at all. I enjoyed it. I just can't remember anything about it because it had been several years.
Yeah. So Logan is really, really good too. And they actually talk about the Logan film in Deadpool versus Wolverine. Corey,
Yeah.
do you have intentions of watching this film, or are we about to
Well,
just
all right, so
spoil the fuck out of this film?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get that out in the open now. If you're listening to this and you have not seen Deadpool versus Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine Super Fun Time Adventures, this is probably most likely going to be very spoiler ridden. I have never cared about spoilers in my life, so I don't really care if we discuss it. But if you're a listener, you probably want to come back to this one at another time if you've not seen the movie and you have an intention to.
Right, we're definitely gonna spoil it.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Deadpool's in it.
Okay.
Spoiler.
I did see some spoilers for it already because it's the internet and the internet's terrible.
Well, the thing about it is, some of the stuff was in the trailers. So I only saw the first trailer, and I didn't see any other ones. And one of the things that happened in the trailer, my brother knew that was going to happen because he had seen it in the trailer, and I didn't know about it. So I saw it in the film, and I was super excited about it. Which we can talk about in a second. But if you watched all of the trailers, you might have been spoiled a little bit. John, did you have that experience, like watching all the trailers?
A little bit. Like there's a lot of stuff that obviously wasn't in the trailers, but there's definitely elements in there where it tips its hand a little bit.
Was there a character in particular that was in the trailer that you thought was a surprise and might have been a spoiler?
Oh, are you referring to X-23?
No.
Oh.
Because I didn't see the trailers. I didn't see the trailers. I'm referring to
That
Cassandra
was
Nova.
the most recent trailer that X-23 showed up in.
I think Cassandra Nova was in one of the trailers, wasn't she?
Yeah, Cassandra Nova was,
was
like in the first
Okay.
one.
Now, as a big Grant Morrison fan, I marked out in the cinema, and I guess everybody else had seen the trailers, so they were like, yeah. But I was like, holy fuck, what? Cassandra Nova, and she was great.
Yeah.
She was so good. They played her perfectly. Okay, let's back up a little bit. So basically what I'm saying is, so if you've seen some of the trailer stuff, some of the stuff will be spoiled for you. But let's get back into the film. Start from the beginning. John. Okay, I'm gonna say this, John, and I want you to agree or disagree. But I think I have two like really prevailing thoughts on this film.
Mm-hmm.
One is, I think that is the most accurate depiction of Deadpool you're ever going to see in a cinema. I think everything about that was Deadpool. Like so many fourth wall breaks, but also like just him being a badass, like killing people. The fight scenes with Wolverine, just like chopping people up, like being a dick, but also being really serious. Like when it comes to fighting, that's Deadpool. That is the most accurate Deadpool I've ever seen on cinema.
I agree with that.
The second thing I will say is that I don't know how well this film will hold up in repeat viewing, because it's a Deadpool film. It's very reference heavy, very fourth wall breaky, and so a lot of these films, like for example the Guardians of the Galaxy films you were talking about, you can go back and watch them at any point because they're great films by themselves. You don't have to watch the rest of the Marvel universe to get them. They stand alone. They're like as a film, it's great. The second film, it explains everything you need to know. So as a film, it's great. Deadpool versus Wolverine, if you watch it right now, it's fucking awesome because you're gonna go, I get this, I know what that means. If you watch that in 10 years' time, is it gonna hold up? And I honestly don't think it will. And is that part of the culture today? Like, is it too internety, or is it just internety enough where we're like, it doesn't matter if it holds up 10 years from now. What matters is it makes $240 billion today. You know?
I mean, yeah, I'd say that's probably like Marvel's thinking, though, isn't it? they want to make money as quickly as possible, and at the same time, like, generate a bunch of excitement about the movie and get people buzzing about the MCU again after like the last few years where it's just been pretty dismal going. Let's be fair. So yeah, I think it's more about making a movie for the moment than like one that's going to stand the test of time necessarily. But then
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if it will, like, maybe it will stand the test of time. And maybe like 10 years time, I'll watch this again and still get like a buzz from seeing like all these characters show up, or maybe it'll have lost its sort of, spark by that point. But I honestly don't know. Like, I wrote this in my review on my Letterboxd account. Like, I have no idea if it's gonna be as enjoyable in repeat viewings as it was this first time around. But
but the first time is still really good.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the point of it is you go to the cinema, you paid your money, and you fucking enjoyed it to the point where you might go see it again.
If I could posit a question?
Yes.
A lot of the cameos, because that's what most of the things I saw was just talking about the various cameos that were made in this movie. They did not last longer than a few seconds, right? Like, Toad did not have a big part in this. Sabretooth did not have a big part in this.
Sabretooth did not. Toad was longer than a few seconds, but Pyro was longer. Pyro was significant.
Yeah.
Well, Pyro had a relationship with Wolverine out of X-Men 2, but so I get that one. There actually was some commonality there.
Pyro, but without going too spoilery, Pyro is significant to the plot.
Okay, cool. So there is some of these cameos that
was not significant at all.
Which is the biggest thing about this, that the only movie that has really played into the Sabretooth Wolverine rivalry, which is like one of the top 3 Wolverine stories there are, is anytime Wolverine and Sabretooth clash, is the worst X-Men movie. Which is Wolverine Origins. The only one that really, really went into depth on that is also the terrible one.
Yeah.
I will say that, okay, that is somewhat good to hear, because I thought it was just going to be a mile-a-minute goofs on, like, oh, here's this guy. So that's cool.
I would say all the cameos got significant screen time.
Yeah.
And the cameos were really important. And speaking of cameos, should we go to that bit now, John?
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about cameos single word up?
Yes, we are. Have you heard
a word up?
Have you heard Korn's version of it?
I have.
I have as well, but I prefer the original.
I prefer Korn's version. It fucking rips, dude. So good. Are we still talking about that, or should we talk about Marvel versus Capcom 3? So obviously I love Deadpool. I love Cassandra Nova. I was having a great time watching all this stuff. And there is a part. Well, no, actually, if we're talking about cameos, early on there's a really good cameo. Corey, you're okay with spoilers, right? Are you actually going to see this film?
I will maybe see it at some point, but I also don't care about spoilers. I've never cared about spoilers.
There's a bit really early on where Deadpool and Wolverine find Chris Evans. And
yes.
Deadpool's like, oh my god, he's gonna, because the part of the film is Deadpool wants to be one of the Avengers.
Yeah.
And now he sees Chris Evans in this like kind of lost utopia world, weird like world, not utopia. Dystopia. I guess the opposite of utopia.
You typically.
This like desert world for like reject toys, and he sees Chris Evans and he's like, oh my god, finally I'm gonna be one of the Avengers. We're gonna fight against these guys. He's gonna say the phrase. We're gonna have a great time. He's getting ready to say the phrase, Avengers assemble, and then Chris Evans says flame on and turns into the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And I popped big for that.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny as hell.
That has always been kind of the elephant in the room when it's come to the Marvel movies, is that Chris Evans was one of the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
So I was amused that they did reference that.
That was such a beautiful twist. I was so like, that's beautiful stuff. So they get captured. They go to see the leader of this underworld part of the time, which is Cassandra Nova. She is just a wonderful character. I think that they played, again, John, you say whatever you think about it, but I feel like they played Cassandra Nova like really fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
She seemed like a woman that's threatening. That's a big deal, which I think Cassandra Nova in the comics was. And I'm glad that they represented her really well in the film, because as we've seen, Cough Loudly Sabretooth, sometimes big bad villains don't always get the respect they deserve.
Proper treatment.
Yeah. So I thought that they did a really good job with that. But the gimmick here now is that Deadpool and Wolverine are trapped in this weird, netherworld place. They escape from Cassandra Nova, and then they realize that somewhere, this is a bit I really liked, was that the idea that somewhere along the way in this area where a lot of like misfit characters went, there was a whole team of Deadpools where they were just like, listen, it turns out Deadpool is a guy that nobody from every universe, nobody knows how to deal with him, so just throw him in here. And I thought that was such a wonderful bit that because it's true. If you had a universe with Deadpool and you had the chance to throw one of your characters in the universe away into this place where he could never come back, you would throw Deadpool in there. So that's where Dogpool turns up. Dogpool is one of the pools that has been discarded. You see a handsome Ryan Reynolds with his, I think he was called Nice Pool.
Yes, that's correct.
A Ryan Reynolds with no face mask and long flowing hair, who looks after Dogpool, and he talks to regular Deadpool, which is very strange and lovely. And that tips you off that there are more Deadpools in this weird universe. And then they go off, Wolverine and Deadpool go off in a car to make amends and to try and find other people in the world that might help them get a resistance to fight back against Cassandra Nova. So earlier on, when they were in the desert, Deadpool and Wolverine had a fight, and it was lovely. I'm going to say this, John. I thought the best fight in the whole film was Deadpool and Wolverine fighting in the car.
Yeah, that was pretty
That
spectacularly
was my
done.
favorite part. It was filmed perfectly. They really beat the shit out of each other. It was wonderful. It was like a comic. It really was. It was so much fun to watch. That was a joy. So eventually they kind of, get out of the car and get taken to, I don't know if I can't remember if they get taken to it or they just wander into like some other encampment.
Yeah, they get taken to whilst they're like recovering from basically killing each other over and over again. They get taken there, and then they sort of wake up in this strange place.
Yeah.
And that's when all these other people walk in, these familiar faces.
So here come a big bunch of cameos, and the first was Elektra from the Daredevil film.
Yep.
Which is
a West Virginia native.
Which everybody's popping for. Like, that's great. The second one is Blade, played by Wesley Snipes. Everybody's popping for it. We're like, what the fuck is going on? The third one, John and Corey, you're going to know. Already we've had Deadpool and Cassandra Nova. I'm having a great time. The third one is Gambit, played by Channing Tatum. And I'm like, what?
How is that? How is that, by the way?
It was awesome.
Really?
It actually was. And here's the thing, John, maybe you'll agree with this. I thought Channing Tatum playing Gambit in that role was fucking perfect. However, I can see why they didn't go through with making a whole film about that, because the role he had in this film, like, he had a prominent role, but he was part of a team, and that worked perfectly. But that character in a whole film, I don't think that's not going to work by itself. He needed to be one of the X-Men. He can't be just Gambit the film. I don't think that would work. Yeah. No, and you see that perfectly in this film.
They definitely sort of lent into making him more of a like comic relief character as well. Like, he went really heavy on the Orleans accent.
Yeah.
like deliberately so, and it was like
I was gonna
referenced,
ask about
they
that.
have no idea what he's saying. Like I
Yeah.
had no idea what he was saying either. It was, but that's
It
part
was
of the
perfect.
last. Yeah.
It was beautiful. I was so happy. Because like I said, I feel like he would have done a great job anyway.
Mm.
And him going hard was like, that's what Gamba would have done. Like, why not, right?
And the fact that he looked exactly like Gambit should look as well, with the little like
Yes.
uh
The face thing.
purple, yeah, going up to over his head,
Yep.
wearing the brown leather jacket, like it was absolutely spot on.
Purple chest protector. He had the stick.
Mm-hmm.
He fights with a stick. He flicked cards at people.
Yeah.
It was everything about that Gambit character. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Please, why didn't they put Gambit in the other X-Men films? Because if it was just that, as a bit part in a big machine, it would have been perfect. So perfect. He's not. You know me, guys. I love Gambit. I don't think he's good enough to carry a whole film by itself. But as a part of the X-Men, that's why people love the X-Men. It's the parts that play into the cogs in the machine.
Yeah.
That's what works. And it's the same here. All of these cogs worked really well. And then, of course, the other surprise was X-23, who's all grown up now. And that's a really good thing as well, because that works with the Wolverine character, because the Wolverine in this film is a different Wolverine than the one X-23 had seen in the Logan film.
Yeah.
And so it all of it like works really well together. There's a lot of like just fun stuff to watch. And again, like if you're watching it back again, you're like, okay, now I know what the surprises are. Will they still hold up? I don't know. But watching it once in the cinema, you're like, this is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a wonderful time, to see a film that I get all of this. It's lovely.
So you haven't seen Loki, have you?
No, I
Was
seen.
the
Well, the thing is, they talk about the big smoke monster in Deadpool.
yeah.
I assume because he explicitly says this is from episode 5, so I'm like, well, I guess that's from episode 5.
Was it easy to kind of keep along with everything without having seen Loki and having that like prior experience with the TVA or the Void and the Smoke Monster?
Kind of, yeah, because I think part of that's me being a comic fan, because I do know about that idea. And I had seen Ant-Man film with Kang in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at the end of that, they show footage of a Loki episode.
Yeah.
So I kind of understood that there was some time traveling shenanigans. That's something that I thought would play more into the film. Because at the end of Deadpool 2, Deadpool steals Cable's time traveling device and then fucks around with the timeline a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the ending joke stuff.
Yes. And so I think me and everybody else assumed that the reason this is all about like time travel and the multiverse stuff is because the TVA are going to come at Deadpool for fucking up the timeline, and then he was going to rebel, and that was going to cause the film. But that's not what the film is at all. They very offhandedly reference that, and then the man goes, no, that's not what's happening. And then that's it. They just forget about it. And I feel like that's a little bit of a, again, like, is that a dangly plot point that they just deftly batted aside? Or is that something significant that they should have taken advantage of and they didn't, just because they wanted to swerve people deliberately? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I
what do you
don't think they necessarily needed to pick up on that. It would have been a good hook and like an obvious hook, I guess, to kind of set the story in motion. But like you say, here it's all about like the Deadpool's universe losing its anchor person or something, wasn't it? I can't remember what the exact phrase for it was, but he was like the anchor of the entire universe. So when he dies, then it starts like the slow process of the entire universe dying, which is something that I figure is going to play into like the upcoming Marvel movies as well, like which have just been announced this week, which we'll get
We'll
into
get to that at some point.
in a little bit. Yeah.
Apparently, that was what was supposed to happen.
Mm.
In the original version of the Kang Dynasty, the TVA were going to pick the significant people, the key, I don't know what they call it either, the key people out of each universe, and bring them together to fight the multiverse of Kangs, which is interesting. Obviously, they're not going to do that now. I feel like the way they played it all together was very good. The Deadpool core end up making an appearance at the end of it, which is wonderful. I would say this, John, and maybe you'll agree with this. They swear a lot.
They absolutely do.
Like right off the bat, it's just fucks like all the way through that film. And there's a bit at the end of the film where Deadpool, and this is a big spoiler, Deadpool and Wolverine have to sacrifice themselves to stop Cassandra Nova from essentially killing off a load of other universes. And they do this successfully, but at the cost of their own lives. And then the TVA guy, Mr. Paradox, is talking to some other guys from the TVA. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I managed to fix this problem because of two men who very definitely sacrificed themselves and will never, ever come back ever again. So I'll never have to worry about them. And then Wolverine and Deadpool walk around the corner and call him a dick, whatever. And then he goes, fuck, like really loudly. And it's like, it's really funny. But it's less funny because they've said fuck like 100 times before that. But if they toned it down a bit more so that end one was like more impactful, that would have been so much better.
Yeah.
Like from like a comedy beat standpoint, that would have been fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it was still very funny. But well, I came away from that film going, that's great. That's one of the best Marvel films I've seen in a long time. Because it was funny. It was kind of emotional in a strange Deadpool way, which I like. You know what I mean? It makes sense in a Deadpool way. All the guys in it are great.
It was a nice sort of send off as well to like all the non-Marvel, or non-Disney Marvel movies from the last 25 years. It was like, like even over the end credits, they have a lot of little, like sort of behind the scenes clips and stuff from a lot of those
really
movies.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was like a really nice send off for that sort of era.
That bit was really sweet. Yeah. So I thought that like overall, like wall to wall, that whole film, like one of the best Marvel films I've seen in a long time. John, what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100% agree. It was it ticked a lot of the right boxes. Sort of teases stuff for like the future of the MCU without getting too heavy into it as well. Like you don't need to really be super familiar with all the MCU movies beforehand to be able to like jump into this one. So yeah, I think it was pretty successful on all fronts, really.
Yes, I agree. I would recommend anybody who hasn't seen it that has a passionate interest in Marvel or in Deadpool or in Wolverine, go see this film. It has a dog in it. It has Gambit in it. It has Cassandra Nova in it. It has Deadpool in it. What more do you want?
I mean, I kind of would have liked Vinnie Jones to still be playing the Juggernaut, but
for a moment, I freaked out because he was dressed like Vinnie Jones, Juggernaut. I freaked out because I thought that, and I did in the cinema say, that's the Juggernaut bitch. And because I thought it was Vinnie Jones, and then it turns out it wasn't. So I felt
something else that was missing, which like I didn't notice it was missing, but then people were like talking about it on Twitter afterwards, like saying, why wasn't this character in? But like, yeah, why wasn't Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider in this?
That would have been cool.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been really cool if they did that.
I'm looking at the MCU wiki, and I'm just looking at all of the henchmen that worked for Cassandra Nova, and apparently Bullseye was in there somewhere. It wasn't Colin Farrell, but it was a Bullseye.
Basically, almost all of Cassandra Nova's henchmen weren't played by the original actors who played them in the previous movies.
Ah, yeah.
It was really just Sabretooth, who was Tyler Mane.
Yeah, who was Pyro?
Oh,
The same
Pyro
guy from
was actually
Pyro was the
yeah,
same, right?
yeah.
I don't know if Toad was the same. I don't remember.
It
No,
was not.
I'm,
It was not
it's not.
Ray Parks.
Okay. But again, like Toad didn't say anything, but he was around.
Yeah,
Yeah. He lasted longer than Sabretooth did.
yeah.
Let's put it
Which
that
is one of the things that got spoiled by for me by like some of the set photos that we saw, like the ones that had started popping up on Twitter, like last year or whenever it was they were filming this.
Yeah.
It showed like a little video clip of Wolverine and Sabretooth charging towards each other, and then like Logan basically chopping off his head. So I was like, oh, okay, so I can expect to see that happen.
So because I remember in the trailer where they first revealed Sabretooth was in it, there's Deadpool talking about like, hold on, people are excited for this. They've waited their entire lives for this moment, so that was the gag that it was over before it started.
Yes.
So they built up the big fight, and then they just took
Yeah.
the piss out of that one themselves, huh? Didn't they?
Yeah. There you go.
Well, there's always the MCU, I suppose. So, I also saw that Aaargh was one of Cassandra Nova's henchmen, which was so fucking surprising. Do you guys know who Aaargh is?
I do.
Yeah,
I
but
don't remember him.
Yeah.
I don't remember him in the
No.
film.
Yeah, no. Apparently, he was one of her henchmen.
I
'Cause
guess
I'm
we're
on
just
the
gonna have to watch it again.
yeah. Look for Aaargh of the Morlocks,
Why will?
and also somebody who is playing the Russian that Kevin Nash played in the Thomas Jane Punisher movie.
Yeah.
The guy was there too.
He
Oh,
didn't
if
look
only it could have been
anything
Kevin
like
Nash.
Kevin Nash. No.
Yeah, I'm sure Kevin Nash would have done it though if they'd
Dude,
asked.
if you'd have paid Nash enough, he would have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, he already keeps his haircut short now anyway.
100%, man. If you like paid him enough and gave him some weed, he would have been there, no problem.
Yep. So
Nash is like, I don't have a problem with the Punisher. I never had a problem with the Punisher.
Yeah. Any closing or any other thoughts you have on Deadpool? There is no more Deadpool movies after this as of right now.
Oh, there
Right,
will
as
be.
of right now. But this film broke records. Like, if
Yeah.
they don't make another Deadpool film, they're crazy.
Yeah,
I won't
do you
lie,
wanna-
just based off just the fact of the way you've described it, this does seem like the kind of movie you only really need to see once.
Yeah, but it's fun.
I did hear that like there was like a Patch reference. There's like Wolverine on the crucifix.
Yes.
Was it Albert in there somewhere?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
There's a really short, tiny Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
He goes to like loads of universes, and one of them he sees Wolverine, and he hops down, and Wolverine's like fucking like 4 foot something, whatever. He's so small.
Comic accurate Wolverine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, oh, dude, pops all around. You know what I mean? Like they just went for it. That's part of why it's so good. Like a lot of it is very like fourth wall breaky, but a lot of it's very like, if you like comics, you get it. If you follow Marvel comics, if you follow Wolverine or the X-Men or Deadpool, a lot of this shit's gonna make sense. And it did.
I kind of love the fact that Hugh Jackman has basically got to play almost every iteration of Wolverine as well. Like between Patch and now with the sort of iconic yellow costume. You see him in like the John Byrne like tan
the brown and
costume
yellow
as well. Yeah.
Yep.
You see like the Age of Apocalypse where he's missing the hand and he's got the massive hair.
Yes. They did Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ticked every single box basically.
They did it. Exactly. That's what I like about this. Where they're like, this is probably the last time Hugh Jackman's gonna be Wolverine. Let's just make him be Wolverine. Let's make him be all Wolverine.
Yeah.
You don't think they'll convince him to put it on again for the MCU movies if they decide to go that route?
I think the way they ended this film, this seems pretty much like the end of. But the way they ended this film, it felt like the end of the Wolverine character, but not the end of Deadpool.
I don't know if I agree with that. I feel
Okay.
like they very deliberately kept Wolverine alive at the end of this and
Yes.
sort of connected with Deadpool as well. So it
Okay.
feels like if Deadpool's getting dragged into some MCU shenanigans, I think Wolverine's going to get dragged into it as well.
I will say I'm disappointed to hear that Josh Brolin's Cable was not in it at all.
They talk about that in the film.
They do? What was
Yes.
just like an offhand remark?
Yes. They said that he didn't pass like the what was it? Didn't like he didn't test well with audiences.
Yeah, it rings a
Something like
bell.
that. And I'm like, is that true?
I don't think so.
Because that would have been great, and it would have explained a lot of the time travel shit. But they're like, no, we'll just forget about that completely. So,
Yeah, Domino.
Yeah.
Neither. Was Colossus in it, though?
Yes.
Briefly, yeah. I'm not
Yes.
sure he said very much or
No.
did anything,
But he was in it.
I did enjoy Colossus in the other Deadpool movies.
Well, he's in this one.
There you go.
That is good as well.
So-
At the beginning of the film, like you see a lot of those old guys from the other Deadpool films as well.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
saw Peter from X-Force.
Peter is there. You gotta believe Peter's there.
He plays a significant role
Peter is very important
in the
film.
end of this, yeah.
Yes.
Really awesome.
Yes.
I love
Peter is very important, as he should be.
Mm.
X-Force.
Yep. I mean, it's just him and Deadpool. They're the most important members of X-Force.
Well, they're the only ones who lived.
Correct. Therefore, the most important one. Well, Domino.
And saying that,
Domino but Domino's whole power is how difficult
Lucky.
it is to kill her.
Correct.
and Shatterstar somehow survived as well, even though
He went into the blades of a spinning helicopter.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
surprising.
Hey, but he's an alien, though, right?
Well, he's from Mojo World, if
Yeah,
I'm not
so,
mistaken.
like, maybe they do that all the time in Mojo World. We don't know.
I mean, you do get killed and brought back a lot in Mojo World,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
So that's just what happens, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Mojo has to make up for sweep season.
Yeah. They keep people in their.
Do you think they'd ever make an X-Men movie with Mojo? I mean, that would be fucking wild if they made a Mojo World like X-Men movie.
You know, the thing about like these days is that like there's a way to tell that story with Mojo because that's the kind of character Mojo was, and now that we're all like addicted to our phones and our computers and stuff, like that story could be told 100%.
It's not the first movie in an X-Men series, so you'd have to kind of lay a bit of groundwork first before jumping straight into
you can't have
Mojo
the
World.
the first villain can't be Mojo. But even
Or
then,
Arcade.
I don't think I would make Mojo like a side villain.
You know, if they did a Murder World movie with Arcade as the villain, that'd be Arcade. You could get a lot of like good cameos in that because traditionally you do end up fighting robots.
You'd need more than Arcade though.
Mm.
Well, probably, yeah. I wouldn't say Arcade's going to be your main villain.
No,
I do have a love for that character. So, you mentioned, by the way, that this might be the last time that Hugh Jackman plays Wolverine, and what a send-off. Speaking of people who got a really big send-off, and it was the last time they're ever going to be playing a character, a big thing happened during San Diego Comic-Con, where during the MCU panel, they made the big reveal that the Age of Kang was going to be completely rebranded and scrapped after Jonathan Majors' legal issues. And the movie's now going to be rebranded to Avengers Doomsday, to which point a legion of people in Doomsday costumes stormed the ring, with the ringleader unmasking to reveal Robert Downey Jr., who will be returning to the MCU after a 7-year absence to play Doctor Doom. So, I saw a lot of discourse about this move. I talked to you guys a little bit about some of the stuff I saw. Some of it was interesting, and some of it was fucking batshit crazy. But let's get into Robert Downey Jr.'s return to the MCU as Doomsday. What are your thoughts?
I like it.
Not Doomsday, Doctor Doom.
No, he's Doomsday. He's gonna kill Superman.
He's gonna kill Superman. That's how we're gonna connect the DC movies to the MC movies.
Robert Downey Jr. just kills everybody.
Yes.
Mark it. I thought it was a really it's a fun twist because if you think about like those multiversal things, they've done something similar to that before. where they've done something where like Reed Richards is Doctor Doom in an alternate universe, like, and it's not that much of a stretch to think that Tony Stark would be alternate version of Doctor Doom. Like, you can see that happening. So I like that idea because they are like stuck on this multiverse stuff, and they had to make a call based on what happened with Jonathan Majors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they called an audible. They offered Robert Downey Jr. an obscene amount of money. He smartly said, "Yes, I would like that money, please," to work for fucking 3 months or whatever. And you're probably gonna get like a pretty decent film. I have no problem with this whatsoever. I know a lot of people do, but I think it's a fun idea.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction is like, holy shit, that's wild. Like, who thought of this? The part of me though, like the more I think about it, is just like, Doctor Doom is a massive character.
Right.
Like I mean, there's a reason why he's being brought in as the next big bad, because he is in the comics traditionally one of the biggest big bads you can get. Like, he takes care of business and does so in a way where like he pretty much finds a way to win even when he loses. But yeah, so he's like a major character, and to make him sort of a variant of Tony Stark feels almost like a bit of a disservice to the character, or at least like, I don't know, like lessening him in a way because he's connected to someone else rather than being his own standalone version of Doctor Doom. So like, it'd be interesting to see how that's gonna like play out and how they sort of rectify that in terms of the plot and everything. But I mean, yeah, who doesn't love Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU, and who can't see him being like pretty spectacular as Doctor Doom as well?
Right. Like, now he gets a chance to like actually show off like a bit more of a bad side.
Yeah.
Like a real egotistical, like horrible, like what Tony Stark could have been. Like, that's interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And plus, there's going to be that sort of emotional connection for like the Avengers that he goes up against, and when his mask comes off, and they finally see who's under it, and they realize, holy shit, it's Tony Stark, the guy who saved our universe, is now the big bad. Trying to wreck our shit. So,
Exactly. Like,
yeah,
that's a
that
good angle too. Like, Avengers, like, this is a
makes
guy we
sense.
love and trust, but now he's a guy we fucking hate. He's trying to kill us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a good angle, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't hate it, but I think they should have stuck with the Kang Dynasty.
You
I'm going to
reckon?
talk about something I referenced earlier, where somebody talked to Jonathan Majors and said, "What do you think about Robert Downey Jr. essentially taking your spot in the Marvel films?" And Jonathan Majors was very polite, and he said, "I love Robert Downey Jr. I think he's a great character. He's going to do a really good job as Doctor Doom. I think it's really nice that he's able to have his own personal problems and overcome those personal problems and be forgiven for them." And I'm like, he's not wrong by saying that, is he?
Well,
No,
didn't Jonathan Majors?
I'm not. Whoa. I'm not advocating what Jonathan Majors did. What he did was horrible. But
No.
But if we look at what people have been canceled for and what people have been forgiven for, Jonathan Majors has, like, people have done way worse than that and come back from it no problem.
So I was gonna say, I think in that same thing you're referring to, I think someone also mentioned Ezra Miller, and how Ezra Miller had that whole string of incidents in Hawaii, but the Flashpoint movie still came out and stuff.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
correct. And what Ezra
Okay,
Miller
that's what
done
I
was
just wanted to
horrible.
contribute that there, because
Yes.
the Robert Downey Jr. stuff was like in the '90s, and it's been a
Yes.
while since that shit happened.
Yeah,
So I
it's
feel
a
like the
long
Ezra
road
Miller
to him
comparison's a
coming
little
back.
more apt.
That's the thing. I would give it space, obviously,
Mm.
but I wouldn't I wouldn't do it right now. But I would love it if they did go back and do the Kang Dynasty and finish that story because I think it deserves to be told.
But this is the thing, though. Jonathan Majors will still get cast in films, but they just won't be the sort of big movies that he was getting cast in before.
Like, I could still, like, he got cast, like, he had a part in one of the Creed movies that came out, and it was a very big role for him. Like, he could probably still get roles like that, but he's not going to get, like, a family blockbuster action-adventure role, at least for quite some time.
Okay.
Like, he's probably still going to get work. He's very good at what he does, but yes.
He is very good. And again, I'm not advocating what he did, because I think what he did was horrible. But I think
I just laughed when you said that, by the way, because it was just the way you phrased it.
I do, yes, fair. Yes. Fair enough.
It just came out of nowhere on me, and I started to laugh because I was like, "Wow." I mean, you're true. It's true. That's what happened. But Jesus.
Yes. Well, like what I feel like is, for like I'll say this as well. For a lot of like cancel culture, I don't think that cancel culture exists.
Yeah.
I think that like people think it does, but doesn't. But like anybody that gets quote unquote canceled, they don't get canceled. It doesn't stick. It never sticks. Like that's the joke. Like Louis C.K. jerked off in front of women and then won a Grammy.
Made jokes about it.
That doesn't make any sense. Like he won a Grammy after he did that, and everybody's like, "Well, that's great." So like, but what to me, what's weird is at the moment, and again, maybe it's that bubbling period where we have to let it die down. But at the moment, it feels like Jonathan Majors seems like the only one where like we're really canceling him, and I'm like, I don't think that's fair. If in the past we've let so many other mediocre, terrible people just get right back to where they used to be.
Well,
whereas
to
kind
of go back to the Ezra Miller example, I've not heard anything Ezra Miller's doing lately. Like the difference is that the Flash movie was done.
I will say this about Ezra Miller. I never saw the appeal to Ezra Miller at all. And then it turns out he did all that shit. And I'm like, well, good. He's going to get canceled. And then he made that film anyway. I'm like, why would you put your faith in this fucking bland-ass fucking guy? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see the appeal. But what does he do that so like 50 other actors don't do, right? I don't.
Well, yeah, that's why. Yeah, but like that's what I was kind of saying. Like the apples to oranges on that one was that Flash was already done. Kang Dynasty hadn't started filming yet.
Right.
So it's easier for them just to go like, yeah, well, we'll just scrap it and do something all over again. Because I mean, that was also part of that big announcement was the Russo brothers were coming back for these next two Avengers movies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of veer back to the Robert Downey Jr. aspect of this, with Robert Downey Jr., their arguments that I saw were very eclectic, and I have opinions on those. To kind of go what John was saying, Doom is such a very big character that to not have this character stand alone as their own individual entity, but instead like, and we're just assuming that this is going to be the case, that this is an alternate, like a multiverse version of Tony Stark that became evil instead. So it's not even going to be Victor Von Doom. It's going to be Tony Stark. But, that. Another element of Doom is that Doom is horribly disfigured under his mask. Traditionally horribly disfigured. There were several versions where it was like a small scar or whatever. But still, Doom always wore the mask. Robert Downey Jr. can't keep a mask on to save his life, nor can any superhero movie. Like how many Spider-Man movies, the final scenes are completely unmasked Peter Parker fighting.
All right.
That's like the thing about the Deadpool stuff that I liked was the commitment to keeping the fucking mask on most of the movie.
Well, that's part of it. Like it's probably a pain in the ass to put the makeup on, so it's easier to keep the mask on, right?
Right. So we're gonna have a very likely, just assumptions. We have a multiverse Tony Stark who is not going to be the ruler of Latveria, who will also be completely unmasked for most of the time he's going to be on screen, save for a couple of scenes where you get to see the Doom mask. So that's one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Another aspect I saw, people were upset that they did not cast a Romani actor because the character Victor Von Doom is of Romani descent. I am not as bothered by that one as some other people would be, because that's not the goal. The goal for Marvel was this time. The goal for Marvel was we're gonna get the biggest fucking name actor that we had who like launched this whole thing and made it as big success as possible, and we're just gonna put him in another fucking movie. So I'm not.
Right.
If they were gonna cast, this is gonna be Victor Von Doom, and it was like some white guy out of Nebraska, I get the argument. But the goal was not to cast Victor Von Doom. They're casting a Doctor Doom that is Tony Stark, essentially, by the looks of it.
Yes. Like the
and
goal
another
was
thing
to kind of like fix the problem that they had, and the way they fixed it was Tony Stark, a proven commodity, in a different angle you haven't seen him before. Do you know what I mean? It's like Hulk Hogan turning heel.
Yeah,
it's fucking cool. We want to see what happens.
So the last point is, I saw someone say that this cheapens their art.
Yeah.
Which I am just going to fucking laugh at that person's face, because here's the thing. I understand art is subjective. It can be anything and everything you want it to be. I think a big budget popcorn film put out by fucking Disney is not art, though. This is a product that is meant to be bought and sold, and you're buying it and they're selling it, and I refuse to acknowledge it as art. That's just my personal opinion as a creative out there, that Disney does not do art. Disney sells toys, and that this is what it's going to be. They're going to be selling toys, no different than the Swamp Thing cartoon, just hopefully better acting.
I feel like Disney used to do art. They don't do art anymore.
I mean, they can still make you feel things, but yeah, the bottom line is...
but like Disney made their name on art. Their animated films are beautiful. And now they don't really. They just make their money on the names they already made their money on.
Yes.
So I get that. I also read an article that was like something similar to what you read, Corey, where they were like, oh, this is like a step backwards for the MCU. I can't believe they're cheapening, yada, yada. You know, they were talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit because, A, fuck you. And second of all...
Yeah, Paul.
Well, yeah, fuck you, Paul.
Paul's back.
Piece of shit. What was your article about this shit, huh? You... Swamp Thing, you know? But second of all, like a lot of it's a lot of like subjugation, but we're being very like guesswork about this thing that I would rather we just watch and see what happens. I feel like this is such an interesting idea. It's a good twist. And like we said, it's like that kind of Marvel-esque. The films are always different from the comics. So let's see where they go and let's give them a shot. Like for Endgame, I didn't like what they did with Endgame where in it was like, what was the first one?
Infinity War.
Infinity War is an Endgame. So Infinity War is Thanos comes up and beats everybody up and they're like, wow, what the fuck? And then the second one, they pretty quickly beat Thanos. But then it turns out the real threat is an alternate version of Thanos that's like slips through the time stream. Right?
Well, yeah, but the version of Thanos that they beat up had been sort of broken because of using the Infinity Gauntlet.
Because of the Infinity Gauntlet, because of them like going through time and stuff. But the idea was the real big boss of that film was not the Thanos that beat the shit out of them in the first film. Right? It was a bit of a bait and switch. I'm like, well, that's what they want to do. Fair enough. And I feel like it's similar with this. It's like it's obviously not the Doctor Doom you want it to be, but it's a different Doctor Doom. Give it a shot. It's going to be a bit of a bait and switch, but that means that the real Doctor Doom, because they're still making a Fantastic Four film in the future, the real Doctor Doom in that universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has still to come about. And don't you think the way that they link all of their films together, that there's a really good shot that the Doctor Doom that will appear in the Fantastic Four film in the future has some sort of bearing in this film. Maybe he observes what happens to Tony Stark and is like, oh, I'll do something different. Or he has some kind of bearing on the plot and then that influences his actions in the future. Like, don't you think that's going to happen? It's a thing that I feel like happens a lot these days where people get so... And to be fair, it is a problem I have with the Deadpool film where like, we need everything immediately. We need it now. We need it. It's the internet. We have to get blah, 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 blah. And you're like, you guys don't give anything like a chance. We don't know. All we know that has happened is Robert Downey Jr. came out with a Tony Stark or with a Doctor Doom mask on. I was like, I'm going to be Doctor Doom. And everybody's like, fuck you. I'm like, well, don't fuck him yet. Wait and see what he does with it.
It doesn't come out until 2026. So there's a whole other 2 years
they
before
have
this
plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
They have plenty of time to like actually make it work. And I think they will make it work because as we've said a bunch of times, the Marvel films recently have been a bit of a dud. But that means they know they need something big to like get people together. And when it comes to the crunch of it, if you think about their big films, they always seem to be able to pull it out. They are able to like, if you look at the duds in the Marvel films, the duds are always the second stringers, the people nobody really gives a shit about. If you read Marvel comics, who do you read? You read Captain America, you read Spider-Man, you read the X-Men, you read the Incredible Hulk, you read Iron Man. Are you reading the Marvels? Some people are, not all the people are. Are you reading
The Eternals?
Exactly, the Eternals? Not everybody is. Some people are.
Well, guess what? Nobody reads the Eternals comic book either, but that didn't stop them from trying to make it a thing.
But you're correct. But you know what I mean?
That was
like
hubris, is what that was.
But you know what I mean? Like, obviously, the heavy hitters are going to be the heavy hitters. It's not like if you watch Monday Night Raw and the main event is Humberto Carrillo versus, Brutus Creed.
You really had to think about that, didn't you?
I did.
Humberto Carrillo came right out, but that opponent, it took you a moment.
Because WWE has been on a pretty good tear recently. So like, who else is a jobber? I don't fucking know. But like, that's not a good main event. But as a sideshow, as part of the undercard, you'd watch it, right? So if that was in a Marvel big cinematic film, you'd watch it. But if that was the actual Marvel film, it's hard to get you to go and watch that film, right? And I think that's part of it too. You need these big heavy hitters. You need a guy like Robert Downey Jr. to go, especially now when they needed somebody to get them out of a pinch. They needed somebody to go, all right, we can rely on this guy. He's going to. It's classic number stuff. If the WWE needs somebody to draw numbers, they'll say, hey, John Cena, turn up, and he will turn up, and they'll advertise it ahead of time. John Cena will turn up. People will watch because John Cena's on the show. So it doesn't cheapen the show, but it also means John Cena's on the show. He gets paid. The people watch. They're happy. Where's the problem? Right?
So to go back to what you were saying, the ones that did the worst were the second stringers. I did pull up the document that we first made back in March when we restarted the Smark Avengers in Volume 3. So, hey, it's been like almost 6 months that we've been doing this consistently. Good job to us. But those are Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, even though it was like one of the highest rated movies on Rotten Tomatoes at 92%, still didn't make a ton of money. Eternals, which made even less money, and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania that made even less money, which also might have some leanings into the Kang decision as well, considering how he was the main villain in that too.
Yes.
And also the Marvels. Those are the worst movies that have come out. So they are in a very weird place where there's, as you call them, the second stringers aren't doing as hot. Add on to like, we have our first Captain America movie without Chris Evans' Captain America coming out soon. So we're gonna have the Anthony Mackie led Captain America and see how that goes. And they're throwing some bells and whistles at that one too, with 80-something-year-old Harrison Ford going out there as Red Hulk and the great Giancarlo Esposito as our villain, who I think he's Sidewinder from the Serpent Society.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, which that's going to be a struggle right there, because I mean your villain is the Serpent Society, so we'll see how that goes.
Is that the film Seth Rollins is in?
Yeah, although I think it's Did
they keep him in that, or did they forget about that?
I think they cut it.
Okay.
I mean,
that's what I heard.
We'll see. Yeah.
They did talk about that, right?
You hear somebody go, then you know it's him.
A guy coming out with this really big, like fucking extravagant fur coat.
You're a snake. They don't have fur.
Yeah. What the fuck?
The Alaskan bullworm.
Yeah. They just make up a snake for him. Yeah, that's a snake. Yeah.
The big furry snake.
There's got to be a furry snake somewhere. There's got to be. You know what I mean?
Talking about Lanny Poffo.
Hey, no.
I don't think they'd admit this, but I do think the Robert Downey Jr. as Doomsday, absolutely. I won't call it a panic move. I will say it was a worried, cautionary move of, we have not been performing as well as we're used to. We've invested a lot of time and money into this. let's get a return on that investment by paying Robert Downey Jr. $80 million to come back. Because that's the rumored number, is it's 80 million at least, maybe more, which is telling.
It's a lot.
Telling.
It's a lot.
So, like, we have Robert Downey Jr. coming, returning to the MCU as Doctor Doom, a version of Doctor Doom. We know nothing about this character yet. It's going to lead into the Secret Wars movie, which I have no idea how they're even going to do that. Because wasn't the big villain in Secret Wars Thanos? Is he coming back too?
Was he?
Was he the villain in Secret Wars? I thought it was. Or was that Infinity War?
I don't think they revealed who Secret Wars is going to be.
No, I mean the actual comic from back in the day.
Oh, fuck, dude. I don't remember.
John.
Secret Wars is what, the original one or the?
Yeah, no, that's it's a Beyonder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the
I think
Beyonder.
so.
Boy, that'd be wild. Who are we gonna cast as the Beyonder?
You.
Although
don't
Doctor Doom
Corey.
did sort of ascend to godhood and steal the Beyonder's powers in that as well.
Yeah, get Russell Brand to be the Beyonder. I did that because I knew the reaction from you two would be good. No,
Cancelled.
get Matt Berry. That'd be fun.
Who?
Yes.
Matt Berry.
Oh my god, dude.
Right?
That would be incredible.
It would be fucking amazing.
I'm
Anyway,
the Beyonder.
I imagine they probably aren't going to go with the Beyonder for Secret War. It will probably have something to do with whatever happens in Doomsday, because it feels like you're not bringing back Robert Downey Jr. for $80 million for one movie.
Right.
No.
What are your final thoughts on the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom and what that means for the future of the MCU?
I think it's a fun idea, and I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because I feel like Robert Downey Jr. is a actor they've banked heavily on in the past that has paid off significantly for them. Like that, they've been able to successfully bet on that man, and he's paid off. So I think why not just have one more roll of the dice and see what happens. I like the idea of Downey Jr. as Iron Man because I think Iron Man and Doctor Doom, there's similarities there. Like that works. It's fine. And also if they're like separate multiverse universes characters of each other, I think all of this is fun. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and to see how it plays out, but I like it.
So I will say that one of those points I brought up people getting their nose out of joint about was how this is not in the continuity of Doctor Doom being like an alternate Tony Stark or whatever. And I guess my argument to that is, why do you care about continuity now? Like, the Marvel movies largely have veered heavily away from the source material on multiple occasions. So the people making that argument, I feel like, are just it's a straw man argument. They just aren't happy with Robert Downey Jr. coming back in this role. Because a lot of people were like, him coming back tarnishes Iron Man's death. And I think that's silly, but,
right.
What have you. Like I said, I'm not a superhero movie person anymore. I stopped a while ago. So I don't really have a horse in this race. It could be successful or it could not. It's going to happen regardless. So, oh well.
And it's just another one of those things as well where people are just being too reactionary. Like a slice of news will come out and it's, oh, this is the best thing ever. This is the worst thing ever. There's like, there's no middle ground for the most part.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait and see. Like, one, everyone loved Downey as Iron Man. So him coming back, surely there's like a net positive there. And two, we don't know exactly how he's coming back anyway, on like how they're gonna fold this version of Doctor Doom into the MCU at large. So just wait and see. It's 2 years away. Let's not get all bent up out of shape about it now. So That's my message. Chill.
Yep.
Well,
Agree.
folks, this was our most relevant and topical episode of all time. Because the second that I stop hitting record, I will be editing this like a madman, so it gets posted the same day. Regardless, it was a nice kind of discourse to have. I mean, we've been historically our show has been very silly. We talk mostly about like Baby Juggernaut and Armless Tiger Man and whatnot. So to throw our hat into the larger discourse about these two topics that are incredibly relevant and some would say might be like controversial because the whole Robert Downey Jr. thing, that's a nice little diversion. I will say this historically, and I joked about this before we started recording. Historically, this is about the time that we'd ask John like how many movies you've seen, but we've had that conversation in the two future episodes that haven't come out yet and are going to be now out of order. So I don't know, John, if you want to tell us how many movies you've seen, or should we just leave it a mystery and we'll catch up in a couple of weeks?
Well, I'm happy to keep the count going, and then
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So as of today, I have now watched 454 movies so far this year.
What was the last one?
The last one
what's your last
was
movie?
Cole the Conqueror, which was in theory it was gonna be Arnold Schwarzenegger's third Conan movie, but then he basically pulled out and was like, "No, I don't want any of this." So they brought in Kevin Sorbo from TV's Hercules, and reworked it. So instead of being Conan, it was called The Conqueror. And needless to say, it was not a good movie.
What?
All right, folks. Dylan, how is Pikmin going on Exploding Place?
Not good. Thank you for asking. I still haven't uploaded it yet. I'm still trying to record some stuff. I want to record more Pikmin stuff before I start uploading it. I want to get all my Pikmin stuff recorded. It's not all recorded yet. I'm about halfway through it. So whenever I get it all recorded, it will all start going up on my channel in every week. So we're still in the process of that. But anyway, just follow my channel now, Explodey Plays at youtube.com.uk/.gov/.ca. And eventually I will put some stuff up. I know I say this all the time, but I am going to be putting stuff up soon. I just need to get around to recording all of it and get time to fix it. But I have a lot of stuff planned. It's going to be Pikmin. It's going to be My Neighbor Pedro. It's going to be maybe the WWE game. There's going to be some other Switch games on the show.
Okay.
Follow me now on YouTube, and you'll be able to see when the videos come out, so long as you subscribe and click the bell, and you will see the new videos. They're going to be really funny because I'm really funny, and you'll have a great time.
So my shill is just, again, for my other podcast, Large Old Cup. It's 30 minutes long. It's me just kind of having a random stream of consciousness. The episode that went live yesterday was about how the night before I went to a emo, screamo, pop punk dance party by myself, and it was an experience, to say the very least. So that's the kind of topics I talk about at times. We get weird and we wax poetic and attempt to get philosophical. And I'm just by myself, but I have music, so that's nice. That's the show. We'll see you guys next week. And I can actually tell you what next week's episode is because we know what it is in advance this time. Normally we record these, we end the show and they go, all right, what do we want to do next week? But no, I can tell you the next 3 episodes. So fucking strap in, gang. Next week, Smark Avengers -1, me and Dylan, where Dylan asks me questions that the listeners have allegedly submitted. The episode after that, we play a very fun game that will come back again where we build a team of X-Men characters via auction. And the episode after that, it's another Smark Avengers -1, but it's me and John talking about stuff that we're not going to say because Dylan hasn't made the thumbnail yet, and we just want him to make one assuming what we talk about. So, yeah. We hope you stick around. We hope you listen. Reminder, if you listen to this on Spotify, check us out on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, check us out on Spotify. But I'm going to go so I can go ahead and get this thing edited and online within the next 2-3 hours.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Ooh, that was a little gurgly.
Yeah, it's throaty.
That one needs to clear its throat.
Yeah.
You need a lozenge.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Perfect.